What's up, guys? Nima here, and I wanted to talk about a game that I picked up recently. It's been kind of on my radar all summer. It had a small little thing at an indie direct, I believe, last year, and then at the E3 this year we saw it. But Dodgeball Academy is such a fun game. It's really kind of simple style. Not an overwhelming story arc. The combat is what I really like about it. It keeps you engaged enough. It's not too complicated, but it's also busy enough to where you don't get bored. So it's not just simple, you know, hit this button mash or, select attack all the time. No, I mean you do have to use some like active time uh hand-eye coordination to catch the ball. If you catch the ball when they're throwing it at you, you get this. It raises your special meter, and then you can do a special move. But it's just two buttons. Like really, it's A and Y. Like that's all you really use. And after the battle, then it kind of gives you that RPG style where you level up and it affects your strength and it affects your HP and things like that. And your moves, they build up over time as well. And I like that because they don't tell you what they're gonna do, uh, or they don't give you the option to build up your own skills and whatever. They just do it for you. And I like that because that's the kind of game this is. It's not a I'm gonna grind away 20, 30 hours and then work on the story kind of game. You know what I'm talking about? Those like deep 100-hour RPGs. No, this is not that at all. It's very simple. In fact, I did a video last week about games that I would advise people check out who aren't into gaming or want to get into gaming. This game would be way up on top. Um, Aside from just like the art style and the kind of cutesy nature of the game, which is very welcoming, honestly. It's also kind of short, but it gives you all the elements of RPG, an active turn-based kind of fighting system, as well as yes, a story. Uh, but it's a very you want to play dodgeball. You are accepted into academy where you can play dodgeball. You go, you meet friends, you join up a team, you learn that there's a tournament, you want to join said tournament, and then you just go around and you challenge people and you do some side quests. There's a little bit of that mixed in there. And it's all enough to keep the game going, but to really just kind of keep you entertained. And so much of that is because you just want to keep going back to the actual dodgeball. The actual like battling mechanic is so much fun. It's so simple, but so much fun. I believe right now the game is still on sale. I think you can get it for like 20 bucks. I think regularly it's 24.99. Honestly, I would say it's worth every penny. I have really enjoyed the game. I haven't had any issues with crashing or anything like that. No glitches, nothing. Uh, just super fun and simple, and one of those games that you can just kind of put on. Maybe if you're, going to work or something, you're gonna be in the bus or train for a little bit, and you just want to sit down and have a second, or you're waiting for your meal to come to you if you're at a restaurant, something like that. It's really good. I play it a lot while I'm watching my kid, because I have to be active enough that I can pay attention to what she's doing, but I still get bored enough that I want to do something. And that's where this game is perfect. Or watch Suicide Squad this weekend, and I played a lot of this game while watching that movie. And those of you who don't need to play video games or play with your phone while you're watching a movie, just know that you live a better life than the rest of us do. But those of us that cannot focus on one single thing at a time, this is a great thing to focus on. It is so much fun. I just keep going back to it, honestly. There are about 3 games that I need to play and beat, and I just keep stumbling onto games like this where I know I should be playing Neo the World Ends with You. I want to be playing Zelda, but something just keeps pulling me back to different games and taking up that time. Honestly, one thing I'm gonna say about game reviewers and people that do gaming channels and stuff outside of the news, the people that actually do the reviews, I have to believe that they lie. I really don't know. I play a lot of video games, and I don't know how these people have the time. I really don't. I yeah, I've got kids and a business and whatever, but no, trust me, I spend way too much time playing video games, and I can't even touch the amount of reviews that some of these guys put out. It's insane. But I digress. I will say though, this is for me maybe the funnest indie game I've ever played. Now, granted, I'm not into like roguelike games. I try to get into them, it's too difficult for me. I'm just not one of those guys. I don't enjoy dying all the time. Um, don't get me wrong, that's your thing. I get it, and I understand that whole like mechanic of when you succeed, it's awesome. But for me, this is great. This is the kind of game that I hope they keep making. I'd like to see a bigger longer kind of storyline, maybe different elements to it. It's fairly short. Uh, I want to say about 10 hours, 10 to maybe like 13 hours, which in a way it's kind of perfect for the game, right? Because I see this game very much in the light of like the South Park games, where it's pretty simple play, it keeps you engaged, and just the battling itself is what makes it fun. But if they made it too long and too complex, then it wouldn't be. I don't know, it would take it down a level, and you wouldn't really like it that much. Anyway, though, if you're looking at Dodgeball Academy and you're on the fence, I definitely suggest getting it. Now, this is a game that I will say I bought for the Switch, but it is on Xbox Game Pass as well. So if you want to check it out there and you happen to have that, then by all means go do that. But I do think this is one of those games that is a perfect Nintendo Switch game because it's something, as I said, like all those times when you'd want to play it is usually kind of a mobile kind of situation. And yeah, anyway, great game. Definitely a must buy in my opinion. So lately, we've been stepping into this kind of agreement with Nintendo, especially Nintendo sports games. We saw this big with like Mario Tennis Aces. It's they're gonna release a fairly decent game, but there's gonna be a lot missing, and we're kind of under the impression that there's gonna be more coming, and they will. They'll say yes, we're going to do free downloads. And you kind of wonder, well, why don't they just put that in the game? Like, if you have it, then you should. And Mario Golf recently just got a free download, a free update. And Toadette was the main character, and the new location was New Donk City, which I love New Donk City. Like Mario Odyssey, New Donk City is that's the best place. It's like the best Mario location in my opinion. And look, the new golf course is wonderful. It's so much fun. It really kind of I don't know. I'm not gonna say that Mario Golf was like a sim because it's not, but it was more sim than arcade for me. And this new one is way more arcadey, way more fun. I've had so much more fun playing this game now than I did when it came out. Like I did the adventure stuff, and I kind of just played here and there when it first came out. But this one, I'm doing the speed golf like all the time. Like I'm just constantly playing against the computer. Like I love doing that. I've spent so many hours going. Oh, I'll just play one more. I'll just play one more. It's been so great. Like I really can't say enough good things about it. And there's a couple components to that. One is I wasn't sure if they were gonna do DLC, and I don't know if we were gonna get free updates or not. So I didn't really want to get into the game wholeheartedly until I knew they were going to. But at that same time, we kind of like the Animal Crossing situation. Well, we don't know how long it's gonna be until they release another one, and so I kind of think like it's an interesting conversation. Does it make sense to do these updates? And I don't know, to be honest. You look at like um, Pokemon Snap, which it came out around the same time. Really, really good selling game, but they also said they were going to do updates. And I got that game when it came out, and I played it for a while, and I had some fun with it. It was good enough. I was never that big of a fan of the original one, so whatever. I just want to check it out. And then they recently just said they were also releasing new updates, and they did. And I'll be honest, if they hadn't said that, I don't think I would have picked up the game and played it again. But I did. And I think that's what Nintendo is trying to do is to keep us, to remind us, hey, this game is still in your library. There's still more to do. Go back to this one. And it's hard to say if that's a good move or not. I don't know. Because I could see some people who would just feel like, okay, well, I already beat the game. I already played the game. I don't want to go back to it. But then there's going to be other people, especially with sports games, where, or that Pokemon Snap kind of rail shooter kind of game, where it's not very linear. And I think that that's probably a good move. I'm sure they've gotten the data from like Super Smash Brothers, where when they do an update or release a character, they see the spikes in active game players, and I'm sure that's why they decided to do this. And I don't know. I'm really curious what your opinions are on that. Honestly, I really am torn. Because part of me is like, okay, that's great, but I would have enjoyed this game a lot more when it came out if you had added these things. I would have also been more in on it if I knew that it, wasn't reliant on updates and that you were selling me a half a game. Because we knew it when it came out, we knew it was basically a half of a game. And so, yeah, why invest your time on a game that, who knows? Maybe it won't get the updates. Maybe they're going to take longer than, we expect. And maybe it's not going to be worth it. Mario Tennis is one of those games that is just a perfect example. When it came out, like it stunk. It was not good at all. Within a year of that and all the updates and you track like I think it had 6 different updates or something like that. After that, the game was great. Like the game's totally worth buying now, but it wasn't when it came out. And so, yeah, you kind of go back and forth on that like, okay, well I'm going to buy a half game that maybe isn't even that fun. Well, why am I invest my time in this? At that same time, though, the longevity of the game. Would I or you keep playing a game much past its initial release, maybe a couple weeks after, if you didn't know there was like updates and new stuff that's going to be added to it? I don't know. It's a business decision. I'll put it that way. Like it's an interesting one, and I'm really curious what you think on that because it is somewhat successful for him. Like I think that fine line that they're on right now is working. But for how long will that keep working? And they are dangerously close with maybe messing that up with Animal Crossing. I know all my Animal Crossing friends out there, they are up in arms about all the stuff that's going on. The update, the 1.11, wasn't really done right. There may have been some really interesting things that shouldn't have came out that ended up coming out that maybe not, that might get locked away again. So yeah, if you got access to the Halloween items and you're playing Animal Crossing, I would grab them now. Grab those DIY. I'm sure you're going to anyway, but there's a chance that there might be a new update that locks them until October. We really don't know. It looks like Nintendo is really, really just confused about some update that they did with Animal Crossing, and it looks like a lot of it could be wrong. I don't know. If you want more information on that, I would definitely say check out Zach from Switchforce. He's always doing great videos about Animal Crossing and all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, like what are the chances that we're going to have that situation with something like Mario Golf? I mean, this is a pretty new, I don't know, system that they've been doing where, hey, we're going to release 60 to 70% of a completed game. Just wait for the updates. we can't really buy into that until we know if they're actually going to provide those updates and if they're going to be worthwhile. They may not be. I also want to say too on something talking about like this game and Super Smash Brothers and some of those. One thing that I used to really love with old Nintendo type games and all of those and like fighting games and whatever, you would start the game and you would have maybe 10 core characters. And then there would be 10, question mark slots of characters. I really liked playing the game and beating the game and doing achievements to unlock the unknown character. And it seems like that's kind of gone away. And I don't know. I don't really like being told, "Hey, here's the new character coming out. You don't have to do anything to unlock it. It's just right there." Like I really don't understand like Mario Kart 8. You buy it and then boom, there's all your characters. I would like to work for those characters again. I'd like to be surprised. That's another thing. How great would Super Smash Brothers be if you didn't know like your favorite character from whatever Zelda or whatever game is in the game, and then you unlock them. And I don't know. I feel like that would just be a lot more fun. I don't know. That's completely off topic. Just a side thing on these kind of style of games. So, last bit of news I want to talk about was that it looks like Mario Brothers, WATA, all of that situation with auction and online gaming and or online gaming sales and the auctions and whatever. Um, it looks like they broke another record. There was another. I don't even think it was actually not Heritage this time. That was in charge of the auction. I'm not sure who it was who did the actual auction. I know, of course, it was a water rated game, like it always is. It was that 9.8 unopened, sealed copy of the original Mario Brothers, and it sold for $2 million. If that's not bad enough, if that's not enough to make you question what the hell is going on, there's also the fact that the game itself was not owned by like one person. It was owned by this company called Rally, and they're like an investment group. And so they leveraged if they were gonna if they were gonna sell it, if they were gonna purchase whatever. Eh, it's disgusting because here's what it is. Like we're seeing this now all the time, and in fact, if you go to some of the websites and you actually just create like your own WATA account and you kind of look at what games are selling for. There was a copy of Gears of War unsealed. I think it was a 9.0 and it sold for like $3,000. And I might be wrong on the number, but I know it was more than like 1,000. There was just a ton of games on there that were like 360 games. And probably some of them you could probably still find sealed on the shelf somewhere. Especially if you live in like a rural area like I do, where it's not uncommon for them to like just keep crazy weird backstock of stuff. But yeah, a 360 game for $1,000, $2,000, and now we're seeing that like potentially like investment firms are getting into our gaming to also ruin it with their corporate greed. It's unnerving because we know what they're doing, right? Let's be honest. This isn't legit. An unsealed copy, I think it was a 9.8 of it might even been this copy that sold for $2 million. It sold for $140,000 last year, which at that time was insanely too high for a game. So what are they doing? Now I don't have any proof and I don't know for sure, but I feel like there's some tax fraud going on. I feel like this is where they're keeping some of their money. So and if you're familiar with some of like your wealth tax and estate tax and things of that nature, when you hand things, items and stocks, when you hand them down to your children or your next of kin, they don't have to pay a tax on that when they sell it because the assumption is that you paid the tax on it uh, when you first purchased it, and who knows how long. So, some of this stuff is up in the air as to how long this wealth tax is actually going to stay in place. It is very convoluted, and ultimately, the thing to know is that rich people don't pay taxes because they hide their money in things like stocks. And now they're trying to do that with gaming. And I don't know if it's some sort of retaliation for what we did to them on the GameStop shares, or uh, probably not, because these people don't have souls. They don't have the weight of humanity. All they do is think about how to increase their wealth. And that's fine. Do you. But don't mess with us and don't mess with our community. Gaming is incredibly important to us. But how can we share these games with the next generation if we can't afford these games because they're $4,000 for a PlayStation 2 game? Because you can't find Persona 2 for cheaper than $1,000. What? It's a great game, but $1,000, and that's, you know what, that was before any of this. Who knows what it's going to sell for now if you get an unopened copy? And at the same time, the collecting in general has gone out of control. Hell, I'm probably one of the only people who has a YouTube channel that does video games. I don't have a giant collection of video games. I don't care. Like, for me, it's about the experience. I don't need a ton of games and shelves all behind me. Like, again, if that's you, cool, do you. That's not who I need to be. But that side of things, and now it looks like Wall Street is getting involved in gaming. And at the same time, we're told by all these companies, don't you emulate, do not emulate. The ROMs are bad, we will sue you. And by the way, some of them are suing people, and there are multiple accounts of people actually potentially paying giant fines and potential jail time for modding and emulating games. Well, how the hell are we going to play them? Is it becoming one of those things that, hey, you know what, you can play the new games, but you can't go back to play the old games unless you are X amount of wealth in your account. Like, it's just ridiculous, and I think it's time that this needs to be looked into. I'm not a fan of the government coming in and snooping around on stuff. I don't really think they need to in a lot of cases. Usually they mess it up anyway. They really are like the Barney Fife of, you know. Um, by the way, it's a super old reference. But there's something to this. Every week, every 2 weeks, it looks like WATA is grading a game and it's getting questionable marks, whatever. Who, what's 2.2%? I don't know how any of it works. What's a 9.0 compared to a 9.2? I don't know, but it somehow seems to make these games go from $100,000 to $2 million. They're selling them at these different auctions. We now have investment groups who are owning percentages of games like it's a company, and they're breaking records with these gigantic sales. Are you going to tell me that when Wall Street and corporate America gets involved in games, that there isn't some kind of money laundering, tax fraud? There's something going on. This is not organic at all. And at the end of the day, they can play their little games and have fun gaining more wealth and overinflating the market, and they're destroying gaming. They are destroying our history. They are not allowing us to preserve and to own the history that we created in so many ways. These games would mean nothing if it wasn't for you and me, who had the memories of playing these games, who love these games, who should be able to go to the store and find a copy, or buy it online of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, and it shouldn't cost you, the price of a mortgage on your house. Like, it shouldn't be that much money for an old NES cartridge. But that's the way it's going to be. And if you looked at the market, gaming in general has gotten so out of control. That retro collecting thing, limited run, all of those companies are falsely inflating the market. Now, is it going to burst? I don't know. That's hard to say. I'm not going to even answer anything of that nature. But what I am telling you is Super Mario Brothers sealed, unopened, 9.8 is not worth $2 million. It's just not. I would question most of the games that we probably have in our collection, probably not even worth the money that we could get for them right now. I've been told for a long time that we're going to see some kind of drop off and that games are going to lose their value. And that's not what I'm talking about. Because I think, no, they will continue to gain some sort of value incrementally. Not this insane $100,000, $5,000 for Xbox 360 games. These are games that were in the dump bin like just a couple years ago. These are not those kind of games that are worth that kind of money. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to, get your opinion on some of that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm messed up. Maybe, things are worth what people would pay for them. And that's valid too. Uh, but I am curious about that. I kind of want to just talk about that and totally put my spin on what I think is happening here and that it's poisoning the well for the future generation and for our generation. I also want to talk to you more importantly about Dodgeball Academy. That game is so much fun. I definitely recommend picking it up. It's so, so good. It's, like I said, it's relatively cheap. It's only digital right now. I'm sure Limited Run will do some sort of collector's edition, and you can pay $280 for it. But it's a $20 game, so definitely a must buy or free on Game Pass. And the final thing, and I'm most curious about your input on this, is the non contract agreement that we're in with Nintendo, and particularly like sports games and really maybe I hope not, but it seems to be Nintendo games in general where they're releasing maybe 70-80% of a game and they're keeping the rest kind of held back for a little while. They're pacifying us with the little updates here and there. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is it a business model that'll keep us engaged for a longer period of time? Or is it going to dwarf the amount of sales at launch date? Because that's a total possibility too. Anyway, I'm just curious what you guys think on all of that. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. It's Monday, but hey, that means we got 4 more left. We're already down one. The rest of the week will go by fast, and Friday will be here before we know it. Anyway, guys, take care. Bye bye.